It's all about oil, as they say. And the EU's Energy Commissioner says Europe will never return to Russian oil and gas. Not now, not ever. He was quite clear about it, Dan Jørgensen, when I talked to him about the spike in prices caused by the war. Natural gas is now up nearly 80% since the conflict began. The continent's bracing for ripple effects throughout the economy, bearing in mind, of course, much of that spike not only came because of Middle East oil being cut off, but then you have the Qatari, the Gulf plant being attacked and being badly damaged and out of commission. And so the EU Commissioner says the conflict shows the need to move towards renewables. He had a clear message for those who want to import energy from Russia as a substitute.
Well, I will say absolutely not. When we buy Russian gas, we help indirectly finance Putin's terrible war in Ukraine. So for that reason alone. But apart from that, it's also very clear that we've been in that situation before, and it was not good for Europe. We were dependent on an enemy, and Putin weaponized that energy against us. He blackmailed member states of the European Union, and we can never go back to that situation.
Where do you expect that Europe will be able to make up the shortfall? Because the initial shift from Russia took it to Qatar, particularly for LNG. Now that's gone. Asia's demanding LNG. The US can't really provide much more. So there's going to be a shortage in Europe, do you think?
Well, actually not. This is not a security of supply issue for us. We have many sources of LNG, and we have diversified our suppliers. But you are right in pointing to that this is a real crisis for us, but it's more a crisis that has to do with prices. That is serious enough in itself, but it does have some repercussions with regards to which tools we can use to solve these problems, and they are very different whether or not we're speaking about a price crisis or a security of supply crisis.
Right, well, let's talk about, even though it's not strictly speaking your bailiwick, the affordability crisis. Last week I was in Brussels talking to commissioners, and at the moment it seems like there's a great deal of we might do something and we're thinking what we might do, but there's no hard plans on the table for price support or more affordability support.
Well, I would have to disagree with you on that. We have been very clear in putting forward a number of different measures. Now, it is not something that we dictate from Brussels that member states have to do, but it is something that they can do. For instance, giving state aid support so that vulnerable groups in our societies can pay their energy bills, or supporting different parts of our industry that are hit the hardest. Also, we give very clear recommendations to member states that now would be a very good time to lower your taxes on electricity. And finally, and this is a more long-term thing, we need to stay on course with our green transition, because moving away from fossils and having more renewables and becoming more energy efficient, that is clearly the only answer that will help us also long term.
Do you foresee the Commission, well, the Union and the Commission, having to provide more financial aid to member states so that they can trickle down the aid to their businesses and their citizens?
So we have no immediate plans to use EU funding for these purposes. But you have to remember, Richard, that we are already supporting the transition away from fossil fuels via different types of funding. So already now billions are being spent on these issues. So even though obviously we are in the middle of a very current, very immediate crisis, the answer to this crisis is actually an answer that we were already working on. We are already moving away from fossils. Now we just need to speed that up.
Finally, on the big policy question, the US has clearly now set itself against the anti-fossil and a pro-fossil fuel drill, baby, drill, whether it's in the domestic US, in Alaska, wherever it might be. And the green scam, as the president calls it, how much more difficult is it making for you and for policymakers who are still holding the course of Paris, of targets, intergovernmental, all of that sort of thing, when the US decides, do you know something, we're having nothing of it. In fact, we're going in the opposite direction. That must make it more difficult.
So there's no need to hide the fact that we disagree across the Atlantic here. What I will say is, in Europe, it's more clear than ever for, I think, almost everybody that even if there was no such thing as climate change, we would still need to do these things. It is simply not sustainable for us to be dependent on fossil fuels coming from other places in the world. One, it's too expensive. We import for more than 370 billion euros of fossils every year. And two, it makes us vulnerable. We used to be vulnerable because we were dependent on the gas from Putin. Now we're vulnerable because we are dependent on the prices set by the world market. And that in the future will not stand.
And the only way you're suggesting to alleviate or to protect yourself is, since you're not about to start drilling at home necessarily, is a mixture of nuclear, solar, wind, and all the other renewables.
Nuclear, solar, wind, geothermal, the sources are there. It's not science fiction, it's just science, and we have it. So why don't we start using more of the homegrown? It is actually something that is moving right in the right direction pretty fast. Last year, we deployed a record number of 89 gigawatts of new renewables in Europe. This is huge. And every year we break these records. We see now that this is also helping us. So even though we are in a crisis, and I certainly don't neglect the seriousness of this crisis, we're much better situated to dealing with this crisis than we were in 22 because we have more renewables that are cheaper and that are homegrown.